Baylor is recruiting a super team of the best, most talented gridiron football players in the great state of Texas. A team so good, in fact, it will change the complexion of the entire program. They are called the Sensational Six. This is their story.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, brought to you by FanDuel. It is Wicker Wednesday, which is brought to you by Sydney Wicker of Channel 6, KCEN. I'm Cam Stewart, your host of ESPN Central Texas. We're going to be talking some recruiting today, specifically the Sensational Six, which that's usually what we call, the place that Sydney works. But today it's a different one. We're also going to look at this women's basketball team. I was kind of hard on them the other day, but do they have a chance to still compete in this thing? We'll go over that. And then a little bit later on, we will have the reaction to last night's basketball game against BYU. All that and more coming up on Locked On Baylor. Sydney.
Hello.
The Sensational Six.
Super Sensational Six. How many more
Super Scintillating Six. I had a lot of trouble remembering that superlative, that adjective, whatever is the word I'm supposed to be using there. I just couldn't remember sensational for the whole day, even though I've seen it on the Twitter timeline. Keenan Hall, Baylor's main recruiter, was tweeting about it. Sensational Six. I'm like, this Baylor team is damn good at putting together some stuff like that now.
Oh, yeah.
Nicknames, stuff on T-shirts, all kinds of stuff like that. Baylor just had a big-time junior day on Sunday. And Sydney, it looks like the recruiting momentum they kind of built last summer, which was kind of in flux during the football season when they were 2-4 versus when they were 8-4. It looks like that momentum is continuing. It feels like the vibes are high around this program.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of these guys on the field, a lot of them already rocking Baylor gear beforehand, whether it's the gloves or whatever. Like, I've seen a lot of this on the sidelines already. But as soon as I saw the Sensational Six, I was like, that's what you see on the headline of a newspaper. It's
like the Four Horsemen. It's like Baylor's Four Horsemen. Yeah.
And I love it. So super excited for these guys. I know Coach Aranda loves recruiting here in Waco. And I saw one of the guys were from Midway High School, which is awesome because I know Coach Aranda's son, plays football at Midway. He's like maybe in middle school. I don't even know if he's I
think he was just on the freshman team.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's super young, but still. So that's always an easy one to kind of keep your eye out for Coach Aranda. But love this for them and love it for Waco.
Joe Gillespie, former Broyles Award finalist at TCU. I feel like I'm about to do Ocean's 11 or something, or the Justice League or the Legion of Doom, because I'm we have assembled a team. Here are the Sensational Six, okay? 3 of them don't have ratings yet because, 247 and on 3, they haven't done their ratings for this year yet. Yeah. So you've got a couple from the class of 2026, even more from the class of 27. Let's go down the line here. Jordan Smith from Groesbeck High School, the one who actually tweeted out the Sensational Six first. He is a running back with offers from Arkansas, Colorado, Ole Miss. That's pretty good. We don't have the rating in there yet, but I would say that's pretty indicative of a good career so far. Devontre Kirkland, cornerback, defensive back, University High, also the class of 27, offers from Arizona State, Arizona, and the University of Houston, which does pop up in this quite a bit, by the way. stepping up their game big time. The other cornerback, Jamarion Vincent, 4-star guy, Conley High. You know him as the quarterback at Conley. I compared him to Cam Newton the other day, and certainly that game he had against China Spring looked a lot like that. Big, lean kid, tough to bring down, 4-star guy, leaning towards Texas in terms of what 247 is thinking, UT, Arizona, and Kansas State. Lathan Wysington from Midway, you were talking about the running back, offers from A&M in Houston. Chase Campbell, the wide receiver, and really the only one outside of the Super Centex. He's from Friendship High out by Lubbock. 4-star guy, Arkansas, Kansas State, Tech are the offers. And then last but certainly not least, definitely right here in the backyard, London Smith, 4-star wide receiver from University High, unofficially the final 3, Houston, Baylor, and the University of Texas. Now, London Smith. This is someone that Dave Aranda has been on the trail for a long time. He was going to his basketball games as a freshman after that 2022 season. And he's London Smith, a Baylor legacy. Talked about him a little bit the other day. His dad played at Baylor. His mom was a track and field national champion at Baylor. And the kid has been an elite playmaker all 3 years at the high school level. Had a bit of an injury this year, but Sydney, I know this is one that you have seen and your workings at KCEN have seen up close and personal.
Yeah, for football, I was bummed I didn't get to see him a ton on the field this season. You talked about that injury a little bit, but we saw him when the biggest moment came, and that was the playoffs, and everyone was so excited to see his return, and he had a decent game in that one. It just wasn't University's day. They lost big time, but he still had a pretty decent game in that one. And on the court, I watched him ball. The kid's got some he is so fun to watch in basketball.
Explosive, man. Like,
so
for
quick,
sure.
so fun. His athleticism just shines through. So he's a guy that it makes sense why Coach Aranda has followed him. He seems to really fit the Baylor mold as far as a guy who just really would be able to play for others and himself. Like, he's just very selfless when it comes to that, but he's just kind of a dog. No,
we want dogs here, man.
I mean, bring him on, the whole pound. Let's go. I love this kid. He's really talented. I'd be excited to see what he would do with Baylor.
Walker White told me, he said, Dave Aranda said, we're just trying to get some dogs here. So that makes perfect sense. and look, I get like, I wasn't even there for it, but I get like PTSD when Baylor misses out from someone from University, knowing that LaDainian Tomlinson wanted to go to Baylor, and the rest is kind of history there. But looking at some of these guys, by the way, I get to see two of them like live up close. Well, three of them live up close and personal. I think Kirkland had a pick in that game against China Spring. London Smith, talk about demanding a defense's attention, and Jamarion Vincent, same thing. I mean, real unbelievable athlete. And 5 of these 6 guys really come from the Super Centex. Now, Chase Campbell is one that's certainly worth getting out there and out in Tech's backyard at Friendship High. But this is something that Dave had struggled with the first couple of years at Baylor. And you're still seeing some of the ramifications of it, like Micah Hudson is one I talked about the other day, of someone who was going to high school 45 minutes from your campus and was the #1 receiver recruit in America in his senior year. And he ends up picking Tech. And that was, they were missing out on guys. Torian York, who they felt they had at Temple, had the commitment, decommitted. Now he's a stud at A&M. So just for this recruiting momentum, like DFW is great. Keenan Hall's great at that. But it feels like this is something Baylor needs to nail down. That 254 area code, Super Centex, own that. And you'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, on early signing day, I asked Coach Aranda about what it was like to dominate in Central Texas. I can't remember how many recruits they had that day. It was like 20 and 24, but they had like 16 out of those 20 or 24 guys from Texas. And then I don't remember the exact number from Central Texas. But still, that's like really impressive. And Coach Aranda was like, we know how much talent there is in the state of Texas, but we also are aware of how much talent's in our backyard. And so we're really seeing that come to light now. I think Dave Aranda's staying this year. I know there was a lot of rumors. That's helped a lot too. This is huge. And, you know, just going through the list of these guys, Jamarion, that's a guy who I've loved watching and have seen a lot at the QB role and at the DB position. And that, talk about talent. That kid is unreal.
Off the charts.
Unreal.
Man. Off the charts.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Who, by the way, reps the Baylor gloves, if you're
yes, I have seen that. So he's one of the ones who's already on the train. Before we get out of this, because we're over time a little bit, but do you remember, did you ever watch the U 30 for 30? It's okay.
I don't think so. I don't think I have.
It's great. You should check it out, but it's okay.
I will.
So they're talking about rebuilding that program, Howard Schnellenberger, late 70s, early 80s. And he was talking about just like, look, we're in Miami. We don't have to go far for talent. And basically what he was saying was like, we're going to win this area code recruiting, and then we're going to get that area code, and then we're going to get up Fort Lauderdale, and then we're going to get up to Tampa, and then we're going to take over.
The snowball.
And so Baylor, it's like, look, Keenan Hall's great with the FW, and that's where some of the best talent in the world is right there, and certainly Austin and Houston as well. But like, let's get 254. Let's nail that down. And then we'll dominate the I-35 corridor. Like that's how it's going to go. And look, no one's ever going to be like an absolute superpower, right? Because there's so many great schools and so much talent. But when Baylor was fumbling the 254, that's how you knew it was bad. So this is a unbelievable step up from what we saw in the class of 2025 and certainly the early rumblings of 27 and with this 26 class as well. The Sensational Six.
Love it.
Remember that. It's going to be on a t-shirt at some point, isn't it? It's going to be part of
the front page. You know it.
It's going to be part of some 30 for 30 if they all come here and Baylor does something. You know, Michigan's got the Fab Five. Baylor's going to have the Sensational Six and maybe even a championship. I know the Fab Five didn't do that, but anyway, let's talk Baylor women's basketball and what is still at stake for Nikki Collins' team. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, Saquon Barkley, or even betting the coin toss, heads, why not? FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to final whistle. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Sydney Wicker, Channel 6 Sports, covering everything here, Central Texas, not just high school, but of course, Baylor as well. And she has been out there to many women's basketball games this year. It's a tough one on Sunday. That's back-to-back losses against top 10 teams, kind of a tough part of the schedule. And I'm going to be honest with you, Sydney. I sat here the other day, and I was just like, man, it's underwhelming. I came into this year thinking they would be a real challenger for the Big 12 title, and not just for this year, but for a program. Like, you know, OU's out, UT's out. I feel really good about where Baylor is. Obviously, Iowa State pretty good. We knew TCU was probably going to be better with that injury crisis last year. But now you sit here and you're like, they're out of the top 25. You're underwhelmed. And yet I look at the Big 12 standings yesterday. They're not out of this thing. They're 6-2 in the conference. TCU leading it at 8-1 and 15-0 at home, which is incredible. They're not out of this thing, Sydney.
No, they're not at all.
Do you think they're going to make a push here?
I really think they are. I think this last week was a turning point in the lesson for them that we're going to be talking about a few weeks down the line of like, whoa, this changed a lot for this team. Coach Nikki Collins mentioned in her press conference on Tuesday, she was like, we didn't show against UCLA or TCU that we can hang with any team in the country. And we know we have to fix that. And that's huge. It was tough. That UCLA team is just so good. And I don't know. I didn't look at like what the odds or the spread or anything like that on that game was, but I don't think anybody really had Baylor picked.
They were underdogs. Yeah.
Easy to assume.
Yeah.
Easy to assume.
Yeah.
And then TCU, for them to come all the way back in that one and hang around and to know that they get to end their season with TCU at home, I like them in that game already, and that's a few weeks away. So I don't know. I think this team's got a lot more firepower in them. I know last week when we talked a lot of is this time to panic for Baylor men's basketball? And I said that they were a team that's underwhelming. But this whole time I've watched this women's team, they're fun to watch. And there's been so many like wow moments I've noticed with them, and just excitement. When I look at their bench and I look at the fun that they have, I'm like, I want to be a part of that. And I haven't noticed that from the men's team. We talk about that piece missing. I don't see that. The piece that's missing is just not them winning in big games, but maybe it's just because they haven't gotten enough experience in that. Yeah, or what? I don't know what that is. But I like this Baylor women's team, and I think they are a team that can make a push. And I think that this is a turning point for them right now.
So we both had the feeling that they were underwhelming coming into this week. And so therefore, like we talked about the men's team last week in terms of like we couldn't put our finger on it. Couldn't quite put the finger on what's going wrong here. Do you have a better feeling of like what has gone wrong for the women's team? Because we talk about how they're still in it, but they should be better than this right now. They should have, they lost to a couple unranked teams early in the season that they probably shouldn't have, and they're out of the top 25. So is there anything that you've seen from them that you're like, if they just get a little better at this, or this hasn't quite come around yet, anything like that?
I think just, they just need to continue to share the basketball a little bit more. It can't be on bugs every single night to get stuff done. That's just a lot of stress to put on one player. But I mean, we saw VJ do that.
True.
But just I think Bella has had a few mental hurdles to overcome, because I know Coach Nikki a couple weeks ago in a press conference before the game that she is a player who makes the biggest impact on the court without scoring a single point. And that's something that I've remembered in my head a lot, is that, okay, so this girl is a leader in practice. Clearly, for Coach to say that, she's noticed her step up. But why aren't we always seeing that on the court from her? And I think she's very unselfish. She's such a kind, like, sweet human. But maybe we just need to see a little bit more of that aggressive side come out of her. So I would just say, I think they need to play a little more scrappy. I just think it comes down to being a little more nasty with the ball. Just, I don't know. The Bugs can do it. She got in trouble.
Yeah. I was going to say, we know that they can be scrappy.
Yes.
She shouldn't.
I think a little more of that.
She should not have got suspended for that. I'm sticking by that. I kind of get it. Like, I get that that's you kind of have to do that, but the fact that there's no appeals process.
It was funny though that Coach Nikki had mentioned. She goes, "Well, I am on the board for these things."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm the chair of the rules committee." Whoops.
That was so funny.
And yet can't even wield that power. It's too bad. It's really too bad.
But I think this team has a lot of a fight left in them, and I think we're going to see a really strong finish from them.
And so I looking back at looking at more at the standings and the positives of this team, I can agree with that. Like, looking back on it the last few days, I'm like, it's not as much of a crisis as I felt men's basketball was a week ago, where we just didn't know what this team was capable of. And there is this, this Baylor team has Matharu and Vonleh that weren't on the team last year, but it's got a lot coming back from a team last year that made the Sweet 16. So like they've kind of been in the battles together, and that was a way up and down season last year. So looking across this conference, sitting in fourth, but really only 2 games out, I guess, because TCU's in first, and you've lost the tiebreaker. Who worries you in this conference? Because you want to talk about underwhelming. Iowa State's been underwhelming. Utah's been underwhelming. So who in this is this one of those? I should say, I'll phrase it like this: is this one of those where you see a TCU team at the top that's talented but hasn't quite been there before? Oklahoma State that's been playing out of their minds as well as they've played in years. Do you see this as kind of a wide open top 4 here?
I think it's kind of wide open. I just think Oklahoma State, they've been exposed, and we saw that recently with them. So I think, does Baylor play them again? I haven't even looked that far on the schedule. I don't think they do.
Probably.
I don't know. I can't remember. But I should know this. I'm so sorry. but
this is the thing. We used to play everyone twice, and it was easy to
know. It's not easy anymore, and I get confused, and I can only do so much in this tiny little brain of mine.
There's so much. They do not play them again.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so, but I was like, but in the tournament, they could face each other again. They're maybe like the only one that I would see as a threat, just because I don't know, playing them again is going to be tough, because that was a really brutal loss at home that this team remembers. But I think that adds to the chippiness to be able to play. But I don't know who really scares me in the Big 12. I think it's pretty wide open.
There's no boogeymen or boogie women anymore, really, in this conference now that Baylor is what they are and UT is gone. So it's certainly, you don't have those there. Anyway, Sydney Wicker, Channel 6, KCEN. She is picking Baylor women's basketball to win the Big 12. She's telling you to put money on it. Sydney, where can we find you in the near future? What Baylor stuff can we find you with?
Yeah, so just continue to download the KCN 6 Plus app. We post a lot of exclusive stuff on there when we can. And then, of course, anytime you tune in to Channel 6, we're talking Baylor of some sorts, whether that's the women, the men, sometimes both if you're lucky. But yeah, that's probably the best way.
That.
My New Year's resolution is to be better about posting on social media. I suck at it because I hate it. So maybe
It's not
on
the worst problem to have.
socials.
All right. Find her on some socials. At Sydney_Wicker.
Yep, on everything.
Bang.
You got it.
Got it.
Easy peasy.
Another successful Wicker Wednesday in the
Thank you.
books. Locked On Baylor rolls on. Let's react to that game against BYU last night. Let's do it next on Locked On. Oof, Baylor basketball. Recapping, lost to BYU in overtime last night. If you didn't catch it, we do have the full post-game reaction up on the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever you found this podcast, it's on the same page, right? That's the full breakdown of all that happened last night. But let's start by saying this. It's not something I like saying when my team loses, but what an incredible basketball game, man. I mean, just had everything. The shot making was off the charts for a good part of that game, and it was mostly freshmen. Man, in fact, almost all freshmen, right? Cannon Catchings for BYU, and VJ and Rob Wright for Baylor were fantastic. Obviously, I mean, it's all you can hope for except for the win, right? Like, you have this incredible basketball game, awesome atmosphere. You had one of the great living athletes in the building, Tamika Catchings, and Conor McGregor, I guess, was there as well for some reason. And all these scouts from the NBA, it lived up to it. VJ lived up to it. Cannon Catchings of Brownsburg, Indiana fame, Gordon Hayward's hometown, definitely lived up to it. And Rob Wright, I think, was maybe impressing some of those NBA scouts too much for those of us who want to keep Rob around in Waco for another year. But I was happy that they fought back and they put the thing into overtime. And I thought they showed some good things with that, specifically Rob Wright. But at the end of the day, they lost the game. And as exciting as that was, and how it could have gotten out of hand, I thought Baylor for most of that game should have lost. And yet there were times at the end of it where they should have won. And I thought they threw it away without having a lead late in the game, because they didn't have one. And I thought there was every opportunity to win that game. And at the end of the day, it's a game where you were playing a team that you're probably a little bit better than, and you need to start stringing together some marquee wins. Kansas State is not a marquee win. Utah is not a marquee win. Neither of those teams are going to the NCAA tournament. BYU is battling and scratching and clawing just the same way you are. So that could turn out to be a marquee win. You didn't do it. And you missed free throws. Again, this team, this program just hates making free throws at the end of games. Rob Wright, 8 of 8 from the line. Freshman, reclassified freshman. 8 of 8 from the free throw line. The rest of the team was 8 for 16. The rest of the team was 50 gosh darn % from the free throw line outside of a freshman. And thank God it was Rob Wright going to the line with a chance to tie it at the end of regulation, because they were money. Neither one even hit rim. Just absolutely nothing but nylon. The kid has some serious intestinal fortitude, man. The moment has never been too big for him. 22 points. At one time, he scores 10 or 12 in a row at the end of regulation for Baylor. 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Adds in 6 assists in there, too, in 38 minutes. VJ, again, on fire, man. 28 points. 9 of 15 from the floor is pretty damn good overall. He's 6 of 8 from 3. He's your best three-point shooter now. VJ Edgecombe. Don't tell Norchad Omier. He still thinks he's the best three-point shooter on the team. And boy, golly, for all the good things that we could say about Wright and Edgecombe in this game, it's the opposite for Norchad. I don't know what's happened to him. I was defending him against some games that people thought were mediocre. He was horrible. He was horrible last night. He killed him in that game. I mean, missing 2 free throws in overtime, missing a 3 when they're down 3, and then fouling out, not being aggressive, not pulling down rebounds. At one point, he is going in for a breakaway layup, and he hits the Holy Trinity because he shoots a layup from behind the backboard. Don't think that has much chance of going in. It gets blocked, and then it goes off of him out of bounds. So you had a guy literally streaking down the court with no one ahead of him. And he doesn't, not only does he not get a shot on the rim, he doesn't even attempt a shot in the court of play. It's outstanding. It's amazing. I don't know how he does it. But it's this weird dichotomy in the game last night where down the stretch when you need to be clutch, it was the kids who were in high school last year that you're going to. And here's the walking double-double, NCAA's leading rebounder, active leading rebounder, been an all-conference player 4 years, went to the Final Four, and he's killing you in those minutes. Jade Nunn, who started all these games, he's only come off the bench like twice in his whole career. Again, a poor shooting night, 2 of 5 from 3. It's some big shots for you, but it was more harm than good again, offensively. But boy, Catchings couldn't miss, man. Whew. He only played 25 minutes in this game. In fact, in some of those big time, crunch time minutes, he was not out there. But again, you look at falling behind again, you look at free throws, and to me, those things, and you look at your supposed best player, Norchad Omier, playing the way he did, to me, those things outweigh any of the excuses that the coaching staff and the fans will come up with. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm so sick of the excuses. The last 3 seasons, 23, 24, and now, it's just been excuses. Oh, well, we were shorthanded. Oh, well, it was a game on the road. Tough to win on the road in the Big 12. And, oh, this guy couldn't miss. And it's just there's always an excuse. You know, you win the last 2 games with the same rotation that you have now, last night, and yet now it's an excuse. Now it's, oh, we're shorthanded. I'm just so sick of hearing it, man. You're not down 2 quarterbacks. And by the way, I said this on the post game, like if you're shorthanded right now, then that's what you are. Langston Love has been day-to-day for 2 years. I feel for the kid. He's probably not coming back. Jeremy Roach is in concussion protocol for the 2nd time this year. Those are tough things to come back from. You don't just hit the weight room harder. This is probably your rotation the rest of the year. And if Roach does come back, he's probably coming off the bench. Anyway, at the end of the day, it's a loss. You could be proud of some things, and that's okay. But it's a loss. And you have an opportunity on Saturday against Kansas to really raise your profile and improve your resume. If you see it as that opportunity rather than just another excuse to lose a basketball game, then we might actually scratch into this NCAA tournament. But right now, you have one like real marquee win, and it was 2.5 months ago. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below about the recruiting, about women's basketball, men's basketball. Please let me know. If you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Still about 3/4 of you are watching every day and are not subscribed. It helps out the channel a lot, and it brings you more fresh Baylor content 5 days a week. The #1 source for Baylor sports content. Let's be honest, guys. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. I so appreciate you guys. Those of you who are watching every day, listening every day, wherever you get your podcasts, in on the live chat for the post games. You guys are what makes this easy to keep going every day. Thank you so much for making it your first, second, third listen, and we'll see you later on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.